we didn't talk. We had this little thing going on that I was still a redhead in those days, not an old lady with white hair, but I was a redhead. And he would always recognize the camera and me next to the camera. Mm-hmm. So he would come always towards me and he said, "Hello, darling."
Hello.
And I would say, "Hello, Elvis." And then he would give me a little squeeze of my hand and then walk away.
And walk away.
What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning into this video here on Elvis is the Man. So I came across this video of one of the people who worked pretty in depth on the CBS Special. Her name's Annette Wolf. I think this little interview came up on YouTube about 4 or 5 years ago, and she talks in depth about what it was like with Elvis. So this was in June 1977. What it was like for Elvis, what kind of person he was like, what it was like filming, what was Colonel Parker like, how did he treat her, what was his demeanor like, what kind of person she thought Elvis was, and whether or not she thinks that the CBS Special should be released today. I watched it a few times and I thought it'd be a great video to kind of share some of the things and pick things apart that I thought you guys might be into. So let me take you through this video and I'll talk you through some of the highlights.
You told me that you got the sense later, in retrospect, that he almost seemed ready to go.
I think so. I think he was there for everybody else, and he kept on putting on a brave face. Mm-hmm. I think he was tired. I think he was, that good old English word, weary.
Weary.
He was weary.
I think that is an accurate description of maybe Elvis's mindset at the time. You know, I came up with a video a couple of days ago talking about that if Elvis if his fans would have maybe sort of shunned him, or if they wanted answers, I think Elvis would have cleaned up his act. But at the same time, I think Elvis was really burnt out and just needed time off. He needed a new frame of mind. And so I think that's pretty accurate description of maybe how Elvis was feeling at the time.
He was abusing a lot of drugs at this time. We know he was taking thousands of prescription pills. Did you ever see him take anything?
No.
No.
I can categorically say no. When we were together, whenever we were allowed by Colonel Parker to shoot whatever we were doing, mm-hmm. he was always there. He was either rehearsing, or he was coming out of his limousine, or he was...
he never seemed to be strung out?
Nope. No.
Okay.
The only time I realized that something was wrong with him was at one of the concerts, I can't remember which one, but he suddenly forgot some of his lines.
Some of the lyrics.
Now, I thought that was kind of strange when I heard her say this, that she couldn't detect anything. And because I could definitely tell, but maybe to her, maybe to the average person who wasn't really listening to Elvis or knew much about him, she maybe wouldn't detect it. But the point that I think that she's referring to here would be this clip.
I wonder if you're lonesome tonight. Let's play a part. Fate had me playing in love with you as my sweetheart. Anyway, tell me, are you lonesome too?
So I find it funny that she says that she wasn't really a fan of Elvis. She liked more Frank Sinatra type stuff. So she was won over to Elvis by hearing Elvis sing gospel music. And, you know, Elvis's heart was in gospel music. He grew up in the church and had a love for God, and searched later on into other type things. But I think that's maybe because he wasn't really satisfied with what he was doing. So he wanted to look at other avenues. But from all reports, I know he always came back to, I would say, the Bible. But that's another topic. No sense arguing about that, because I know that's going to happen in the comments. But I think most of you guys would agree with me. Let me have you guys hear what this lady had to say about really what won her over with Elvis.
I wasn't a fan of his.
Really?
I was Miles Davis and Frank Sinatra and those kind of gentlemen.
Not your kind of music?
No, it wasn't. And then, of course, the record company sent over a humongous big box with all his recordings. And I sat there listening to record after record. Not before I got to the Gospels did I fall in love with Elvis.
Interesting.
And now I really can picture this one, her interaction with Colonel Parker.
And early on, you had a run-in with Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's legendary manager. Tell us about that.
Well, it was a rather bizarre moment in my life. We were all standing waiting for him to turn up in the arena, and they were all setting up for tonight's show. And he would turn up with this cigar, chewing on this very weird cigar, and everybody stood, you know, frozen, actually. And that was the producers, and that was CBS, the honchos from CBS, everybody froze. And I didn't know him, and I hadn't paid a lot of attention to who he really was. And I always said, Colonel? Really? Where did that come from? And my crew and I, we were sort of standing to the left of what was happening, and he turned up and he looked at everybody, and then he zoomed in on me. And he said, oh, you're the lady. I said, I think so. And he said, now you listen very, very, very carefully to me, lady. You are not allowed to do anything, nothing with Elvis except I tell you and give you permission. You are not allowed to call him. You are not allowed to talk to him. Your crew and you are not allowed anywhere near him without my permission. Do you understand that, lady?
Sounds pretty clear.
And everybody was sort of waiting for me to react, and they thought I was going to be humble and nice and say, well, of course, Colonel Parker. So I said, excuse me, is your name Colonel Parker? And he said, yeah, and chewed away on the cigar. I said, well, my name is Annette Wolf, and I am a lady. And everybody thought, now it's going to cost us millions of dollars. The man is going to walk off. He's going to take Elvis with him. But he just took one look at me and chewed hysterically on this cigar butt he had, and turned around and walked away.
Interesting.
From that moment on, he called me every morning at 7 o'clock and said, it's me. This is what you can do today.
Fascinating.
Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this clip, this interview. I did, and I hope you enjoyed these little snippets of footage of this interview that I put in here. If you did, hit the like button, helps to grow and expand this channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. One quick note, my Patreon channel, which I started about a year ago, is back up and running with a bunch of videos, things that I don't necessarily put on YouTube for everybody. If you're interested in that, check the link in the description. Also, I run a Bible and fitness channel. If you're into those types of things like me, follow as well. We'll talk to you guys next time.
I gotta tell you something, really, all kidding aside. You know, I never wore makeup on stage, but, you know, this is being televised, and we had to wear, I had to wear makeup. And if you think I'm nervous, you're right.